Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that I oftentimes find amusing or at other times find frustrating when dealing with people, and that is all the people out there who are obsessed with things like TRT. They're obsessed with knowing where their testosterone levels are, or they're looking into SARMS, and all this other stuff where people want to dabble into the gear world, but they don't want to really commit. And, here's the advice I'm going to give people with that. If you're doing this and you're unsure that you want to go to the dark side, as many people call it, I'm going to say that you stay away from all of this stuff. In other words, unless you are saying, hey, I am seriously going to research and look into the correct, and correct is obviously a subject to great debate, look into the correct ways to utilize various PEDs, testosterone, growth hormone, anabolics, so on. Unless you're going to be serious about these things, you really shouldn't be worried about any of this stuff. In other words, it seems like a lot of these topics are for people who are really unsure, right? They want to take half measures. They want to put their foot halfway in the door. Okay, and I can tell you that all it's going to do is lead to frustration. It's going to lead to bad choices. And so here's what I would say: don't worry about it. If you're one of these people who are there, step back and ask yourself, are you really serious about using gear or not? The real deal. Because if you're not, and you're not going to research all of it in depth, you should step away. Okay, because this is not one of these things where you can make a little light commitment. And people need to understand this is stuff that's well understood. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people use these things. They use them regularly. And for everyone in that world, it's quite comical. It's actually amusing when you hear people take this other stance. It's like they make fun of you. I want you guys who are doing this to understand that. All those people are kind of laughing at you. Because for people who've done this a long time, myself included, this is stuff that we started messing with many years ago, maybe decades ago. It's well understood. There's whole communities built around this stuff where everyone compares notes. There are a lot of medical doctors involved. It's its own little world. And if you're just going to be on the periphery of that world, you're really wasting your time. You're never going to be comparable. Okay, and I'll be honest, most of your natty heroes out there are doing the real deal. They're not doing this other stuff. They're not messing with SARMs. They're not doing TRT. Almost no chance of that. Even the ones who claim natty, who you really look up to because they've achieved very impressive results, they're on the other end. They're just not being honest with you about it. And so people have these ideas that, well, if they just do the anabolic light, that they're somehow going to get those results. And they don't understand how much stuff some of these guys are using, that really anabolic light is just using conservative amounts of the real stuff. And you're still probably not going to achieve what your favorite quote unquote natty heroes have, because they're oftentimes making that claim, but they're not even on the conservative end. They're often relatively heavy users, and oftentimes with very good genetics for whatever it is that they're doing. Now, they may not be pushing the limits. People say, well, they're not the size of this pro bodybuilder. Well, yeah, because one, they don't have those genetics. Two, they're not using anywhere near what they're using. Okay, people don't understand who aren't part of this world how ridiculously high the amounts a lot of people use is. So they have no concept of it. So when you tell them what's a conservative amount, they're like, well, that sounds a lot stronger than what I'm even looking at on this periphery. Yeah, exactly. And if you have these ideas of someone who's achieved these phenomenal results and you're not insanely genetically blessed, you're probably not going to reach those goals even with what we're discussing. And you're certainly not going to reach them with this other stuff. And the problem is that if you're going to obsess over the other stuff, it is going to eventually lead you to do the real deal. Okay? It always does. And people are doing it because they're like, well, SARMs, it's not quite really the real thing. Well, yeah, it's not. Lesser results, they cost more money. Okay? You're going to spend a lot more money for lesser results and probably the same side effects. Okay, we don't even have long-term clinical trials on all these SARMs. We don't know what they do. At least for the other stuff, the real stuff, we actually know what the risks are. We know what to expect. We have research. We have people with decades of use who you can use as case studies. You can compare notes with. You don't have any of that for SARMs. They're a totally new substance, and they seem to be weaker, but with side effects. And people say, well, the sides aren't as high. Well, no, because you're comparing to people who are using large amounts. In my experience, that in some cases, people I've known who've dabbled with SARMs have more side effects than people who use conservative amounts of the real deal. Okay? Of real anabolics, real testosterone. It's food for thought, something to think about. And keep in mind, most anabolics were designed specifically for the purpose, medical purpose, of having the muscle building effects of testosterone, or a stronger muscle building effect than testosterone with less side effects. And testosterone side effects are probably milder than most people think. They're more easily controlled than people think, but again, I'd make the case that they could be lower by replacing a lot of that with anabolics, and so on. But we understand how to control these things. And the same token, people who are worried about their testosterone levels, if they're not going to pen, well, that's silly. Like, you're wasting your time. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to boost it other than just try to live a healthy lifestyle. Okay? And it's the reason if your test levels are low, and it's not just due to age, it's that your unhealthy lifestyle has lowered it, which is probably why you feel bad, why you're having all these other issues, is because of your lifestyle. The testosterone is just a side effect. It's not a cause of it. Again, something that people have to think about with these things. So the advice I'm going to give here, quit worrying about this stuff. If you're not going to say, oh, I want to go really research and delve into the world of the real stuff, stop wasting your time worried about your testosterone level. Stop wasting your time worried about TRT unless you're going to go to a doctor because you know that you have low levels and he's going to bring you up to a healthy level, okay, through a medical doctor. And it's not going to give you the results you think it is. Like, people do that and they're like, oh, it's going to be a game changer. Well, for your health, yes, because if you have low testosterone, your health is going to be bad. As men, it's going to be bad. Yeah, it's going to improve your health. It's not going to help you slap on 10 or 20 pounds of extra muscle. That's not going to happen. Okay? So unless you're legitimately doing it for health purposes, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your thought. So is getting your testosterone levels tested unless you plan on pharmaceutically and medically getting them bumped up. Okay? So I guess kind of the message that I have to people with that is, look, either shit or get off the pot. It's just silly. You're making an ass out of yourself to everyone who is part of this world. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.